Hello, everybody. I'm a practicing therapist and I work with a lot of individuals with attachment wounds. I work with a lot of dismissive avoidance. I do work with fearful avoidant individuals, but typically they're a little bit more leaning dismissive. However, this video will apply to both because a lot of individuals, especially if you are leaning more dismissively avoidant, change and love actually do kind of go hand in hand, and I'll explain that a little bit further. But today I wanted to share with you my observations as a therapist based on what I've seen with my patients of when an avoidant loves you as well as them changing for you. And the reason why I put that together is because a lot of individuals who are avoidantly attached, both fearful and dismissive, are pretty resistant to change. To be completely honest, all insecure attached individuals are more likely to resist changing themselves and recognizing their triggers compared to those who are secure. Because underneath the change or the desire to change, actually overtop that desire to change typically is fear, hurt, and admission that they did get hurt. And that's hard to admit because between all of that, it's also admitting that there's some lack of perfection. And a lot of individuals, even those who are secure, it's hard to admit that they have flaws, but especially true for avoidant individuals, right? And nobody is perfect, so that is not what I am saying. Any of the examples that I'm going to give, they're fictional. I am a therapist, so a lot of the examples are going to sound really specific, and a lot of you guys will probably say, okay, that sounds exactly like something I've dealt with. It's really common, and I see people in and out daily. That's my job, daily as in like the weekdays. So obviously the way I'm going to explain it is going to sound very realistic because it's what I do for a living, right? The other thing I want to mention is a lot of individuals, if your partner is not fitting any of this, it doesn't mean they don't love you. If they tell you they love you, take that in. But these are kind of examples regardless of if they tell you or not, because a lot of avoidant individuals, they're not often ready to say they love somebody right away. And honestly, it's very hard for them to accept that they love somebody. So a lot of times they don't want to admit it, they're in denial, or they just don't know. I've had some patients where they've been with somebody for years and they don't say they love them. And then once the fears are removed and they're through their healing, they can recognize they love their partner, but often they'll come to me and say, I actually realize I've loved him or her for a long time. I just didn't really realize it. And so that's what this video is about. Understanding that they love you, likely without them even knowing. And if you're an avoidant, this may help you as well to kind of realize, okay, if I'm showing a lot of these signs, I probably do love my partner. And maybe it's beneficial for me to lean in and tell my partner I don't have to be anxious, because a lot of avoidant individuals, they also don't want to say they love their partner because they're afraid that they don't. There's a lot of anxiety around it. Not to the point of romantic OCD, not necessarily like that. That's not what I'm saying. But it is more so that they have some sort of fear that if they say they love you and they still don't show it, right? Because a lot of their partners will always say, like, you don't care about me enough, you don't love me enough. And so that actually instills them to be even more afraid. So if you are feeling like your partner doesn't love you enough, saying that actually discourages them from feeling their love. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more later in the video. But I'm going to kind of explain some of the attributes. So the first one is they understand their triggers without you pointing it out, or even if you point it out, they take it really well. And let me explain that. So let's kind of talk about an example. Let's say we have a couple. We have an avoidant male and let's just say fearful avoidant female. It doesn't matter what attachment style is, but likely we're not going to have a secure partner. It happens, but it's really not as common. So actually fearful avoidant might be better for this example. Let's say this partner, the female, she is afraid to make him mad, right? Fearful avoidants don't like making people mad. And so she talks indirectly sometimes. Often she's very direct, but if she's afraid to make her partner upset, she talks indirectly. However, indirect conversations trigger her avoidant partner because he thinks that she's trying to manipulate her. So let's go ahead and give an example. Let's say she said, let's say she sent a double text because she really thought that her message wasn't sent, or he didn't see it because he always answers his messages. And then he says, oh yeah, I saw the first message. Let's say he replies to the message, whatever it may be. And then he says, I saw the first message. I was just busy. Sometimes I do that. Let's say it's like that. And then she says, I don't know. Let's say she says something like, oh, okay, I was just making sure. That is fine. That could be normal, but it can also be taken at least from somebody who's very afraid of being manipulated, or passive aggressive. Sorry. He may take it as, okay, is she mad at me? Is she like pointing out that I failed and didn't answer the text message? So then this is the point where he's going to either crash out. Sorry, not crash. I use that word so much. It's common and, sorry. It means like overreacting, right? He's going to overreact. He's going to become angry. He's going to be triggered because he's going to think, oh, you're passive aggressive. Why didn't you just say that you're upset at me that I didn't answer the first message? When she was saying, okay, I know that double texting in general is kind of a trigger for him, so I'm just going to speak very lightly and indirectly. That's what really happened. I don't know if that made sense, but I see this so often, this miscommunication where one person is trying not to trigger the other person and then they just trigger them more. It happens so much, especially fearful avoidant and dismissive avoidant couples, which is why I did say this is probably better for fearful avoidant. And so he's now thinking she's passive aggressive. He calls her on the phone. Avoidance, when they really get open with you, they start showing their true colors. And a lot of times they'll show their trigger. And let's say he says, you're being passive aggressive. What does that mean? I don't like double texting. You shouldn't be mad at me for that. This is the way I am, X, Y, and Z. And then this is the part where it proves that he does in fact love her, or shows it. He says, rewords it and says, but you know what? I shouldn't have yelled like that. I'm sorry. I know that you're not a passive aggressive person. I'm guessing, because he knows her, I'm guessing that you probably said that because you knew that double texting can trigger me sometimes. It bothers me sometimes, and you didn't want me mad, but you were still checking on me. I actually appreciate that you check on me. I'm sorry. I know it's not a big deal. I shouldn't be so upset about these things. That, if an avoidant does that with avoidance do that. I know a lot of you guys are going to say he doesn't sound avoidant. There's no way he's that self-aware. A lot of avoidants, when they really are opening up to their partner, they do become self-aware. And I will mention, obviously, I'm a therapist, so a lot of the patients I see, they're in therapy. They're seeing me, so they're all in therapy. Not all, a lot of them. They all are. So obviously that's a point to remember. But a lot of them are not coming in just for attachment wounds. Regardless, him admitting, okay, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have yelled at her. She's not doing anything. She's not triggering me. She's not being passive aggressive. She's not being manipulative. She's just caring about me. Let me back up a little bit. When he's doing that, it means that he loves her and he's trying to change, because this relationship is important. He doesn't want to hurt her, right? The next one is shows remorse, apologizes, and makes an effort to change, okay? So let's go ahead and start with another example. Let's just use the same example couple that we had before. And let's just say they're 5 years apart. Let's say the avoidant is older. That'll make it easier. Let's say he's 5 years older than her. And let's say he gets really frustrated when she doesn't understand something. And part of the reason she doesn't understand it is because she just has less experience. And so he may get upset. Why are you not picking this up? Why do you not know how to do that? He'll get upset. But then he may recognize, very similar to the first one, right? He recognizes, wait a second, I'm 5 years older than her. When I was her age, I didn't know that either, right? That's one thing, self-awareness, understanding your triggers, the first one. But the other part of it, which is the second one, is he shows remorse, apologizes, and make an effort to change. Let's say he says, I shouldn't get so irritated or, shut down if you don't understand something. I know you're not trying to annoy me or make it more difficult on my part. I really apologize. I feel really bad that I'm so impatient with you. This is something I really want to do better at. I'm working on it myself, but if I ever sound irritated, could you just tell me? A lot of avoidants do this, especially if they love and trust somebody. I feel really guilty that I yelled. I sounded like I was irritated. Sometimes I don't realize I'm doing it. Could she, I want her to help me out. And the reason why makes an effort to change is really important is because a lot of avoidants, they don't like to change. And so by saying I want to change, it basically means they love you. And the reason why is avoidants don't like letting anybody in. The fact that they're changing means that you're so part of my life, I might as well, sounds really bad, but I might as well adjust for you because you're going to be here for a while. I expect you to be here. So let me go ahead and adjust for you because it just makes it easier for both of us, right? That's sometimes the way they're thinking. Avoidants are very, how would I say it? They're a little bit calculative, which is a lot of reasons why they do test their partner, whether it's subconscious or not. And I made videos on that. They're very calculative. So if they're making an effort to change, it's not in like a super romantic way. It might be, but it's not like, oh, I love this person so much, I'm going to change, I don't want to hurt them. Yes. But it's more like this person's, I'm going to keep them in my life, probably, as long as I can have them. So I might as well make some adjustments so we don't fight as much. That's normally how their mind works, which is good. Like that is their version of love. That is actual love. It's not like it's less or more. They just word it a little bit differently, okay? The next one is expanding what they share about themselves to you. This one is really interesting because I see this so much when my patients are falling in love with their partner. And it's they show like private parts about themselves from a financial standpoint, from an emotional standpoint, family matters, friends. An example, it sounds so small because avoidance, they're so guarded. A normal person who's secure, they might even do this with their friends. But avoidance, they don't do this with anybody. But it might be like, I'm in a group chat with my dad and brother and we talk about sports betting, right? Maybe he's never shared that because he doesn't think it's relevant. But this is something very private to him. He talks to his brother and dad every day, let's just say. And him telling his partner that means, okay, this person is going to be in my life for as long as and as long as I live. And so this may be relevant for her to understand one day. Let me share this. I also want her to know that she's important to me and I don't know how to open up. So I'm just going to share this thing that I've never told her before. That's sometimes what they think like. It could be showing their investments. Hey, I have this invested in my Roth. This is how much I put every year. They may even expand it and say, you should probably start putting it in a Roth as well, X, Y, and Z. They'll start opening up about certain things and share those things with their partner because they feel like this person is valuable to me. Let's grow together, right? And that's a big sign, right? If they're sharing and opening up about themselves and expanding it to you, they're saying, you're important in my life. When I grow, I want you to grow. And that's really important. I would almost say that I would argue even though it sounds so unromantic, that is one of the really strong ones about if an avoidant really loves you, okay? The next one, and this one is very sweet, and I do see this a lot. Unfortunately, it happens a little bit more after an argument, but it's still good. It's still sweet. The next one is showing and stating they appreciate their partner, okay? So let's give an example. It sounds a little silly, but avoidants are really, they're not very verbal folks, right? And I think a lot of you guys know that. Let's say you bought your partner something for Christmas, and of course they bought you something for Christmas as well. And, they don't say it right away, but maybe after a month of them using whatever that is that you gave them, they'll say, you know what, I really like this. I really appreciate that you gave this to me. And especially if it's something specific to them, right? Even something small, like let's say they like guitars and you got them a little mug with a guitar painted on it. They really appreciate those little things. And they feel, when they recall those things they mention, I really appreciate you, especially indirectly, it's a sign that they're not only are they thinking about you, they're thinking, okay, this person is integrated in my life. What would I be without this person? I'm so grateful. Just recalling that type of connection is very, very important to them. In fact, I would say that a lot of avoidants do this, sometimes even in the beginning stages of dating, and it can go away. But if it shows up again throughout the relationship, especially long-term relationships, this is a very big sign an avoidant is invested in you. I want to share one thing. It's a little bit of a tangent, but it just came up and I feel like it's important. A lot of individuals who are securely attached, their effort in relationships even decrease as well. The thing I really notice about avoidant individuals in long-term relationships, especially if they're really committed to you, whether they admit it or not, The relationship is never stagnant, typically. It's always growing a tiny bit. This is because avoidants tend to be, even female avoidants, they tend to be pretty loyal. I know I had made a video, female avoidants are not, they struggle with loyalty a little bit. Still, they try, and not all of them. But a lot of avoidants, once they really open up to you, they like the relationship so much, they slowly build and build and build and build. Whereas their secure relationships, I work with a lot of couples, after 10 years, it's like everything's almost died down. Avoidance, when they let you in, they really let you in. They're not going to let that die down. They're going to try their very best every day, a little bit. And that's really important. That's why that appreciation piece is really important. I appreciate you. I remember you. I value you, because they do. Avoidance, they care about their things. A lot of avoidance, they really take care of their things. Some of them don't have much, but they take care of a lot of things. They always make sure their car is clean. Not all of them. They always make sure certain things, what they have, they really care for it, because a lot of avoidants don't have much. A lot of them don't like clutter. Not all of them, but it's something I noticed. They're very simple people, a lot of them. And what they have, they really cherish and love it. Everything in their life has purpose. They don't like things that have no purpose or don't have meaning. So if you're in their life and they appreciate you, you mean a lot to them. And so that's a really wonderful thing, okay? This one is really similar. And this I've been, I don't think I've ever mentioned this one on my channel, but it's something I see a lot, especially individual therapy with my avoidant individuals, because it's something that they're not going to mention in couples therapy. It's probably why I forget to mention this one. But they become very attached to specific things about their partner. I actually find this one so endearing and really cute. Okay, so let's say it's like a patient. Let's say he's not a good cook. And I'm not saying guys are not good cooks. That's not what I'm saying. It's just, I thought about it. Kind of reminds me of some of the patients that I've had. Let's say he's not that good of a cook, and his girlfriend makes this very specific, I don't know, let's say shrimp scampi, random dish, right? And he really, really loves how she makes it particularly. He requests it all the time. He's asking, can you make that again? He's like really excited about it. He loves eating it. He loves talking about it. But the real reason he likes it is not just because she cooks good. Probably is. But there's another reason. And I think you guys can guess. It's because she made it. And it's a little less threatening for him to say, I love this dish that you make, instead of saying, saying I love you is a lot. And maybe he'll get there, and a lot of patients do, of course, but he can express his love indirectly through something she has. He loves this dish so much that he makes. Maybe loves the way that she massages his forehead when he has a migraine. Let's say another avoidant, maybe she loves the way she can hold on to her partner when they're taking a walk. Like random things. They love very specific things about their partner. They might not even say it, but you can tell they just talk about it a lot. They bring it up. They ask for it, right? He's always asking, do you think you have time to make shrimp scampi? He's really attached to it, right? And I think that means a lot to partners when they realize, oh, that's what they're doing. Because sometimes partners think it's actually a little annoying, because it can be really repetitive, right? They might say I really don't know why they're always asking for this specific thing, without realizing it's because it has to do with you, right? They're attached to you. And I think a lot of people don't get that. So that's why I shared it with you guys. The next one, I like this one a lot too. It's being proud of the relationship indirectly. So this is going to sound a little mean, so bear with me. A lot of avoidants, they really like their accomplishments really highlighted, especially dismissive avoidants, but both fearful and dismissive. They really like the gold star thing, right? When you're a kid, you do something right, you get a gold star. You made the bed, you get a gold star. And, an adult, most of us, we make our bed, right? Or we're expected to. Or we clean something, we don't get a gold star, right? But children, it reinforces them. It makes them feel okay, this is what I'm supposed to do, and I feel happy doing it. Avoidance, emotionally, they're a little bit behind. A little bit, right? It's not wrong. When they were younger, they had other tasks that were much more important than emotionally connecting. In fact, emotionally connecting, sometimes they got reprimanded for it. So they really are not it's hard for them to connect with other individuals deeply emotionally. I think a lot of people know that. And so, avoidant individuals, when they're making progress in a relationship and when they're happy, they're like, they're really proud of it, right? They want a gold star. Last week, I didn't get mad. I wasn't impatient. And they like maybe are even a little bit bragging about it. And so that's why I said it's indirectly. They're proud of the relationship. They might even talk because they're like so happy. They'll say, you know what? We've gotten a lot better. We don't fight as much. And they might say like, did you notice like last week when you said something, I wasn't irritated? Or did you notice like I fixed the dishwasher? Before I would get really mad when you would nag me, but this time I did it and I didn't even get mad. I don't even mind anymore. I actually had fun, right? It's almost indirectly being proud of the relationship because what he's actually saying or she's actually saying is, I'm making improvements. I like that we're doing. Do you notice it too? Are you proud of me? Right? And I think that's really common with avoidance. And it is because they value you. This relationship is here to stay. That's what they want. Avoidance, once they really commit, they're not going to walk away. And so they're proud. They did a good job and it's wonderful, right? The next one is accommodating to your needs and perspectives. Let's say you say, I like holding hands. And a lot of couples do that. And so that's something it's your right? You want to hold hands in public. Avoidants are like, no, I don't do that. I don't like holding hands. But eventually they're like, you know what? I don't really like holding hands, but I know my partner does. I'm going to accommodate. Let's hold hands. Like it's okay every now and then. I'm okay with it. I'll deal with it. That's how they word it. But deep inside, they are happy to give you what you want, even though they don't act like it. And the last one, now this one can come across a little hurtful, but it is something that's important and I really wanted to share it with you. A lot of times avoidants, especially when they get mad, they'll blurt something out, but this one is not a trigger. It's real. And usually they say, if I didn't want you part of my life, you wouldn't be here. I cut everybody off. I don't like people. So the fact that you're here means I care about you. They might not say it's so I care about you, but the fact that you're here means a lot. And it's true. And so why do I mention that? Basically what I'm trying to say is overall, if you're in their life and you've been in their life for a while, they probably care about you a lot. It's just something I wanted you to consider, okay? And then one thing that's a little bit off topic, but we're going to finish it here, a trigger as to what can push avoidance away from opening up to their love is if you continuously point out how much they don't love you or they don't care about you, this is going to make them feel more self-conscious towards their lack of feelings, and it's going to stop them from opening up. So if you guys are doing that, try not to, because it's going to push them away. Does that make sense? I hope this video was helpful. Please subscribe, like, and I'll see you in the next one.